Hi. I'm going to echo Bob's comments. This is the best conference I've ever been to. It's so welcoming, it's so fun, and I feel at home. Everybody said I'd feel at home, and I thought, nah. But honestly, how fab. And actually, the title of my speech is called Tectonic Changes, Global Reach, Changing Buyers, and the Impact of the Indie Feature World on Television. Everyone asks me, why am I here? Nice Jewish girl from Chicago. Why am I, well, not here, but why did I move to London? I've ran a pretty, fairly cool independent production company for a long time in LA. And then why did I move to miserable old England? Well, apart from obviously the property prices, the pub lunches, and the weather, all good reasons, I moved because of the business model. Let me explain. A mere, few years ago, all privately held US-based narrative production companies had been quite simply put out of business by the voracious corporations for which Bob works now. They wanted to own everything that graced their networks. Well, fair enough, but just to refresh your memories, at that point in history, 75% of all US narrative television revenue was derived from a combination of domestic repeats and DVD sales, with only 25% garnered from those buyers whom they casually referred to as the ROW, the rest of the world. But as ever, people were driving on the opposite side of the road in Britain. Something prosaically referred to as the window of creative competition had been introduced by the amazing BBC, and their mandate was to make certain that at least 25% of all narrative content, was owned and produced by the little guy, by production companies. The independent sector, formerly Bob and now me. Having been effectively run out of town for being fiercely independent, imagine how delighted I was to jump through that window. Sure, the orders were for 6 episodes instead of the US average of 22, and sure, there was like no money available, but at least you could own it. And if I learned anything from my 25-odd years in Los Angeles, apart from how to get to the valley without using the 405 freeway, the advantage of ownership, I would have to say, is the most important thing I learned, both from a creative and from a financial point of view. I had always been of the belief, and Bob echoed this too, that the closer that the producer is to the studio, the producer and the studio is to the product, they are as one, the better the chance of making an impact on the audience. So even on an ideological level, I was really pleased to get a second chance to ply my trade. Now, I admit I've been lucky, but I couldn't have imagined that things would even get any better for those of us who didn't have a mobile phone starting with 310 or 818. After only 6 short years, the US domestic syndication market has all but ended. The DVD business is on its way out, and vertically integrated, corporate-controlled US studios can no longer be so dismissive of England or indeed the ROW. So it doesn't seem far-fetched to say that we are headed for a time where if you're in the UK, like me, in Canada, in Ireland, in Denmark, in Australia, and indeed here in Israel, anywhere with some tax-incentivized, highly professional content, you can make some money. Even weirder to me, though, is the notion that there was a context for all of this, and that context is a thriving private and public culture. We forget that we don't have any public broadcasting to speak of in the US. Here you are supported by your public broadcasters, and it's a concept that, having come from a shark-infested water, where, all hail to the bottom line, we have really no idea of what is really in the public interest. So it's a good thing that we're supported by, all of us living in these countries, that we're supported by, in a sense, the government, and that is an odd context. And they don't have a regard in the US really for the little guy anymore. As I said, we were sort of run out of town, but strangely, it is an odd process because it's wasteful. I mean, and this, I'm speaking of the US now, it's wasteful. The pilot process is 200 to 1. Where I come from, they very rarely do pilots. In the UK, they almost never do them, and I'm sure in your country they don't do them either. You can make a little money sort of in the pilot business, but the goal is really to say something. Just what Bob was saying, that it's important to say something, to be close to the product, and to be able to, let's be honest, own it. So that said, things are changing rapidly in the United States vis-a-vis the rest of the world, and I believe no one should ever underestimate the power of an American to change and to recreate. I look at you, Madonna. Traditionally xenophobic, the market has taught the U.S. that it must become less parochial. And if nothing else, we certainly respect what the market has to say. So there are series, and you all know them, Homeland, Game of Thrones, Hemlock Grove, Walking Dead, which happily traverse borders. The US-based distribution entities are acknowledging the importance of providing the context the rest of the world can enjoy, so it's going both ways. They are changing in other ways as well. Used to be, as I said, the goal was to make available a minimum of 100 episodes so their show could be stripped, they used to call it stripped, for that once sought after domestic repeatability. No one in the rest of the world at that time, 6 years ago, had the resources or the wherewithal to provide that many episodes, so the US had, let's be honest, a competitive advantage. As a correlative, the US buyers would complain bitterly that the 6-episode orders were impossible to program, making imports very rare and generally only seen on PBS, whatever that is. Now, of course, that has shifted. The US actually wants to produce and even doesn't mind importing smaller orders, assuring more variety, fewer repeats, and an enriched viewing experience for their audiences who are enjoying the breadth of this type of programming on offer. This is good news for all of us in the program-making community, wherever we live, as with more time slots available, fewer wasteful practices, the great ones among us, and I know that you're out there, my competitors, will have more opportunities to strut our stuff. This is also good news for the artists with whom we work, the writers in particular, as well as the actors. They have more things to say. They'll be able to say, instead of just that one thing, they'll be able to express themselves in a variety of ways. And being locked for 7 years, which is what happened to a series, has a certain sense of comfort to it, but truthfully, that kind of arrangement could wear down your soul. And in my opinion, all artists would rather have a shorter, impactful experience rather than an attenuated, stultifying one. So we're happy for our artist partners because we as them are ever changing, and we want to be able to take advantage of this new environment. In this new environment, one also constantly hears the words authored, audacious, and ambitious from all of our buyers, which can only spring from a passionate, committed source. So you do want that writer to get onto that work and just give everything they've got to it, because the more authored, the more ambitious, the more audacious, the better. The newer goal is far more consistent with artistic achievement than words like reliable hit, dependable returner, and solid performer, which used to be the words we heard all the time. What's sexy about that anyway? So in fact, the definition of the word hit is in flux, which reflects the direction we're all taking in the great pursuit of great pursuit of entertaining the public at large. But make no mistake, audiences worldwide are paying for this shift toward more niche or bespoke visions, which is at the heart of why, in my opinion, show business is still a good business. What used to be free to consumers is no longer. Slowly but inexorably, I'm afraid we're headed toward a two-tiered society in which the people who can pay for premium content will get it, whereas the people who can't won't. This is a worrisome sociological phenomenon, but far above my pay grade to tackle. I suppose it's been heading this way for a long time, but I do think a couple of factors have contributed to the phenomenal speed with which it's happening, and I certainly couldn't have predicted either of them. Again, I'm lucky. As someone who has one foot on the dock of commerce and one foot on the boat of art, I must admit I was both saddened and benefited by the fact that the independent film industry has crapped out. In decline, but crapped out. A new bunch of buyers, this is also good news, a new bunch of buyers. The cablers and the streamers, believing in marketable niche long-tail product, are more willing to let producers and artists take those chances, knowing that a large subset of people believe this sort of authored filmed entertainment is the only thing worth watching. So HBO, for example, has enjoyed a long relationship with the feature film community, and not HBO alone. This is everybody now. Now HBO is doing things born out of their previous relationships with wooing folks from the film industry. And then as soon as David Fincher says, I'm going to be directing House of Cards, boom, watch what happens. Here comes Ang Lee, here comes Steven Soderbergh, here comes everybody, not just to HBO, but to all the cablers and all the streamers. So something's happened. I can tell you from my personal experience, all the writers, all the directors, all the actors are happy to be working in our medium. Again, not my fault. I'm just saying that's what's going on. I mean, Kevin Spacey at the Edinburgh Television Festival accused the U.S. networks of not having the balls to commission House of Cards, which then went on to Netflix, and I do think that rang a large bell. A lot of networks, they're all looking to me wonderful. Actually, it used to be great sport, by the way, to make fun. Bob will enjoy this, of all the networks, and just you couldn't start your day with at least a half an hour bitch session to say how hideous they were and why you just hated them and never would work for them, and then recant only an hour later. But it is important to recognize that every one of them now is smart. This is a weird phenomenon. The new networks they're smarter than us. They're more cultured than us. They read more than us. They see more films than us. They speak many languages, and they're clever. Everybody you've seen today and everybody you're going to see, they're really smart. These are the buyers, and Bob too, even at NBC. Everyone's just a tick above what was going on. I mean, this is a shocking phenomenon from where I'm sitting at. Also, the financial models, from what Alex was saying, awesome. How lucky are we to be in this environment where they even have control over their budgets. They're not told, top down. Again, fantastic. Collapse of film industry, new, smarter buyers, lucky us. So I'm forgetting a whole bunch of other directors, but they're all marvelous. And more importantly, as we've all known, it's the writers, stupid. They're coming as well. So, by the way, they're not commissioning this stuff out of the goodness of their hearts. I just want to make it clear they're making money. That's what Cosby used to say to me. He'd say, well, we will have 85% of the people who work on the Cosby Show, they will be black, even though there was not one person in the Hall of New York City that had ever worked on television who was black. And we will do this not because it's the right thing to do, but because it will make us money. And, metaphorically, he's right. I was going to say the metaphor, the networks are growing like beards on a hipster. And absolutely, that is the single biggest phenomenon since I've moved. I think it might have been me, actually. So now, unfortunately, because everybody's so clever and the world is so open and ownership and borders are blurred, unfortunately, the problem has reverted back to us, the content suppliers. We can't bitch anymore. So our writer partners and we need to adjust to these new realities. It is not going to be easy to create fresh original television because it's not as simple as somebody, not you, Harvey Weinstein, has said to me recently. They thought it was easy because you could just take film and you could just put it on the TV. As we know, completely different medium. I'm sure everybody in this audience knows what it takes to architect, if it's not a pilot, a first episode of television. It is like architecting a beautiful house that's going to last forever. You need the plumbing, you need it to be strong, and you need many entry points so that it can continue a pace. You can't just say something you could have said in 90 minutes. So the initial move toward formats, which you guys are amazing at, has been really popular of late. I would encourage more of it. Everybody knows we need it. Ideas are so hard to come by that if anybody has them, no matter where they are, I'm sure that they'll all be welcomed. I would, however, say I personally am tired of murder in the UK, and I would like very much never to see a murder. As many serial killers as there are in the United States, there's like none in the UK, so I don't get it. But I really would otherwise say I think things are traversing borders like crazy, and I think we're all benefited like, that's another thing we're lucky. We're all global, and we used to love all these closed-ended procedurals, but now I think it's like more important that we talk about what we have in common. Hopefully these younger consumers, they'll want to connect with these people, they'll want to loathe them, or they'll want to learn from them. So whether it's Nurse Jackie or Tony Soprano or about whom, by the way, the late James Gandolfini said, you don't have to like Tony, you just have to understand him. And I think that that's absolutely true about all the television that we're making, which is wonderful, by the way, because we didn't really need any more fake heroes. You know, it was bullshit to begin with. So, what I was, oh, yes, the world is ready to embrace what we all have in common, which of course is our collective humanity. Yesterday, some of us were lucky enough to have a brief meeting with Shimon Peres. Rocked my world. He said that the world has never been more global. He said that TV is a great instrument. And he said that politicians speak, but creative people sing. And I really took that to heart. That's why music crosses borders. That's why we cross borders. He said to not be optimistic would be a mistake. And I think he's right about that. We have a million reasons to be cheerful now. And if he's optimistic, believe me, so am I. So I thought a fitting and very, very self-serving end would be to show you something I just did for the BBC, BBC Two, commissioned a show I did called Peaky Blinders. It is not a format. It is written by an independent film writer named Stephen Knight. All the actors are recognizable from indie film. It is owned by my little wee teeny weeny UK company. And we've just been recommissioned. I anticipate it's going to win the BAFTAs. I know she said hubristically. I think it's fabulous TV. And it's about something you all might know about. It's about gangsters going legit. And I'm sure you're aware that the history of the movie business actually was about gangsters going legit. And with that, I'm going to try to play a few minutes of Peaky Blinders. It is worth waiting for. Thank you. Just to say, that was a scene from Ricky's office, Ricky Rosen's office, negotiating a package. I just thought you should all say a great thank you to everyone who's come here today to talk. I've enjoyed all the speakers. I hope to continue. And again, thank you all for inviting me. It's been a great pleasure. Thanks.